gentleman there. It's you. Yeah.
Hello, Ron Tiersky from Amherst College. Dr. Greenspan, the great issue that people are talking about a lot these days is inequality. But it seems, according to recent reports, that economic insecurity is more important to people than economic equality. Let's imagine that this room were not filled with the people it's filled with, but with sort of average middle class and lower working class Americans. How would you explain to those people the need to do something about entitlements, and which changes would you suggest in terms of reducing entitlements, given this great worry about economic insecurity in the country?
Well, take an average low to middle income family. Productivity is what determines their real incomes. And productivity is basically, as I mentioned, is a function of capital investment. And if you discourage capital investment by creating entitlements, what you're doing essentially is something in today's world is you are paying significant proportion of the GDP to people who are retired. And that's not where the future of the country is. The future of the country is in the younger people. It always has been, it always will be by definition. And so the question is, if you're an average middle to low income person going up, trying to go up the ladder, you're being inhibited by programs which shifts the proportion essentially to the elderly. But the issue of inequality is basically another more interesting issue in general. That is truly a function of productivity. Back in the 1950s and the 60s, when productivity was really moving, the question of inequality never came up, the so-called Gini coefficient, which measures the extent of income inequality, was flat. The question only arises as you get into a situation where productivity slows down and it impacts the middle and lower income wage earners. Remember that QE 1, 2, and 3 did not do all that it was supposed to do. It was supposed to, one, lower real long-term interest rates and hence raise price-earnings ratios on equities and on real estate. And that actually did work very well and created a lot of capital gains, which did spill over into the economy. But it was also supposed to increase the general level of economic activity, which it did not. And so what we have is a very significant part of capital gains flowing to a very limited number of people. And so you'll find, if you want to do the econometrics here, you'll find that the issue of stock prices versus real wages in today's environment says that the people who are involved in holding assets which rise as a result of the QEs, they have had capital gains and higher incomes, which will always outmatch the wage levels that are created by the standard economic activity. Because, without getting into the details of it, stock prices grow at a rate of 7% a year, remarkably stably. They fluctuate all over the place, and the reason they do that is everyone is scared to hold stocks, and that causes them to have a long-term uptrend, because people who are willing to hold them do well, and you have to just basically buy stocks and forget about them. People who do that do very well. So there's something very unusual in the system, which means left to its own devices, the owners of capital assets will always do better than wage earners. And the result is that if you enhance the price of stocks, you're going to increase inequality, and there's no way to get around it.
There's a question right here.